Shilpa Fadnis. The two of us will moderate the discussion. We hope you and your families are staying safe and doing well. Our discussion today is on the hottest free online courses and certifications. Amazon Web Services has launched AWS Restart in India, a free skills development and job training program that prepares learners for cloud computing careers. The 12-week program is offered at no cost to learners, and previous technology experience is not required to apply. Simplilearn aims to onboard 5 million learners in the next 2 years on its free learning platform called SkillUp. SkillUp was launched in November last year to offer learners short-term skilling programs and enable learning continuity during the ongoing pandemic. Great Learning offers free certificate courses in various domains such as data science, AI, ML, IT and software, cloud computing, marketing, cybersecurity, and design thinking. Great Learning's programs are developed in collaboration with leading academic institutions, including Stanford, MIT, the University of Texas at Austin, National University of Singapore, the IITs. To discuss this, we have three distinguished professionals and entrepreneurs from these companies. We have with us Krishna Kumar. Krishna is the founder and CEO of Simplilearn. He's a serial entrepreneur with over 19 years of experience in information technology. Before Simplilearn, he was co-founder and COO of Tech Unified, which was acquired in 2007. Krishna imagined the need for constant reskilling and lifelong learning way before the trend got established as the only way for professional advancement. Simplilearn began as a blog to one of the largest global players in professional certification training. It is today one of the biggest players in online training and certification. Welcome, Krishna.
Thank you, Sujit. Thank you for giving this opportunity to speak with so many people. So really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Krishna. I think Krishna has been on this platform before. Welcome again.
We have with us Amit Mehta. Amit is the head of AWS training and certification for India in Amazon Internet Services. He is responsible for delivering and scaling cloud skilling programs to learners and organizations. AWS training certification equips people with the skills to leverage the AWS cloud and innovate in the digital world. Amit joined AWS in January last year and is based in Delhi. Prior to AWS, he held several leadership roles in Dell EMC and Microsoft with experience in business growth, sales, and marketing. Welcome, Amit.
Thank you, Shilpa, and warm welcome to all the viewers today. Pleasure to be here.
And we have with us Krishnan Nair. Hari is a co-founder of Great Learning, which is now part of the Byju's group. He co-founded Great Learning in 2013 with the vision to make it a lifelong learning partner for India's young professionals and students. Great Learning has impacted over 2.7 million learners from over 170 countries. Hari's tryst with entrepreneurship started in 2007, fresh out of business school. His first venture, iLabs, was a technology startup that built a marketing automation product for retail brands and was used by over 50 brands in India. Welcome, Hari.
Thank you. Thanks, Shilpa. Pleasure to be here with all the other panelists and looking forward to a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Hari. Those of you who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Krishna, Amit, and Hari. To begin with, this question is for all three of you. You guys have democratized learning and development, and now you're giving free courseware to tech enthusiasts. So if you can share your thoughts on how you are accelerating, career roadmaps for young professionals.
Who wants to start? Krishna, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So thanks, Shilpa, for this question. So I think if you look at the last 10 years journey in our space, which is like lifelong learning, skilling to become more employable, skilling to become more productive for the work as well as for their own career growth in terms of getting more opportunities and promotions and so on. So this was not a trend. So people used to come out of colleges and then they were to expect their companies to take care of their future growth, and the expectation was that as you work, you also learn, which is true. But in last 10 years, we have seen that the speed at which technology is changing, the speed at which innovation is happening is much, much faster than what we have seen in the entire human history. So the need for lifelong learning has become a reality. Now there are all kinds of people, right? There are people who are doing very well in career. There are students. There are people who are like not doing that well. And there was always an apprehension that, okay, can I buy this program, which is like 50,000 rupees, it's a big sum of money. Should I really go and invest that amount? And I don't know whether it's going to help me or not. So a lot of apprehension. And of course, Simplilearn, and I'm sure other companies are also witnessing this trend that there are a lot of inquiries, but when it comes to actual buying, we used to see this friction that not everybody inquiring used to buy, right? So we looked at all possibilities to see that how can we help these learners make faster and quicker decision. So that's where we started offering a lot of free programs, and now we have also made even more concentrated effort in form of our skill up offering, where every Simplilearn program is for free. All our paid programs are free. There are very minute differences between our free offering and paid offering. In our paid offering, we give live classes where you interact with the instructors. Obviously, there's an incremental cost of offering that, so we can't offer that part in our free program. We also, in each of our program, there is a hands-on lab. So you're learning data science or you're learning machine learning. We give you a sandbox where you can program and you can try out what you are learning. Again, there's an incremental cost for every learner, so that part we don't give it free. And what we don't give free is the university certificates or the certificates of the players like AWS, because that's also the incremental cost. But if you look at our entire curriculum as it is free. And we have seen huge adoption of that platform. I think our monthly basis, we are getting 200 to 250,000 learners signing up for that program. They are continuing with our journey. Many of them, of course, they transition from free to paid, but that's incidental. Right now, the focus is that how do we impact more and more lives, because our goal is to get to 2 million in next 2 years, and that's the goal that we are working towards. I'll also give an example on how it can help a learner who's not sure what he or she wants. So time and again, I've seen that people hear about their colleague or their classmates doing something. Let's talk about data science, because that's a very, very favorite subject, and a lot of people want to become data scientists. Now, if you think from somebody who is a first-time learner or somebody who's hearing about the possibility in data science for the first time, if I tell them the words like data science, data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, business analyst, it all sounds similar. But if somebody in the domain, they know these are like very, very different roles, they have different competency. So if I'm a first-time learner and I want to get into data as an area, what course should I take? It's a very difficult decision. The salesperson might try to counsel and offer him a course. So to those learners who don't know what they don't know, but they still want to learn, a platform like Simplilearn Skill Up becomes a very good point. You just go and subscribe to all these courses. All of them are free. Spend time understanding that what is data engineering, what is data analyst, what is business analyst. And then at some point of time, when you are well informed, then you can make an informed decision of buying a paid program which is endorsed by one of these universities. We see this also is a relatively new trend. I think in the last 3 years, this trend has accelerated to a totally different level. Is even the universities like the likes of MIT, the IITs, collaborating with platforms like Simplilearn or Great Learning to offer such programs to the learner. This was not unthinkable, right? I think 4 years back, somebody would have said that, okay, you can get an IIT Kanpur certificate doing a course online. That was completely unthinkable, but now it's a reality. So with that, I'll take a pause and maybe take any other point going forward.
Sure. Let me just continue from from opening remarks from Krishna. I think what he stated is very true. The trend in the last 7-8 years of working professionals realizing that they have to upskill, right, to have a better career and have progression. I think that is now unmissable. It is a fact. Just adding on to that, what's also happened in the last couple of years, especially accelerated by the pandemic, at the start of the pandemic, was the number of young professionals, what all of us call as early career professionals, typically freshers or final year students, to folks with 1 to 2 years of experience, that young audience, their increased awareness of having the need to acquire skills that are essentially the in-demand skills in the industry, whether it be data science or cloud computing or full stack, so on and so forth, right? So what we've experienced at Great Learning is that for the past 2 years, we've been seeing that this audience has only been increasing more and more in number, right? But of course, when they come in and they explore the programs, but are the PG certificate programs are usually long, they're university backed, they're 10 to 12 months, they're more expensive, so that there's a product misfit for them. That's when we started Great Learning Academy, I think sometime in March of 2020, which essentially is a platform of free courses, right? Today, Great Learning Academy has about 1,000 courses across all various areas, right from technology to data to management to even soft skills. All of it free. More than 2 million learners who've subscribed to Great Learning Academy across the world. And it's really great to see, that the kind of interest that's coming in from the younger audience, because that means that this need for upskilling and this realization is not just limited to professionals after a few years of experience, but it's also percolating down to the younger audience, which has to be the way forward. What we've also done is that, so one was in terms of providing these courses, and the other was providing job opportunities. So we've invested a lot of time and effort in working with corporates, and today we have 1,200 plus companies that support this initiative at Great Learning Academy, and we built specific products where learners can come in, do courses for free, and then explore job opportunities through our platform at these 1,200 plus companies. So and the reception from the industry has been great, because today we see about 30,000 plus job opportunities that are live at any point in time on the platform, which is increasing. Over the past few months, we've seen about 3,000 to 5,000 people, actually 5,000 young professionals actually get jobs after doing courses. And when we deep dive, one of the most interesting and really good fact here is that a lot of these learners, especially students that we see, are actually from tier 2, tier 3 colleges, smaller cities, right, who otherwise would not have had access to leading companies like Amazon's and others of the world. But now, because they're coming, they're acquiring skills, and this whole process is getting democratized through various companies. They also have a level playing field and an access to jobs, and if they're good, they have a shot at it. So I think this is all in all, I think it's a great time to be a young professional, to have that awareness, to acquire the necessary skills, and then make a fantastic career going forward.
Well, thanks. So let me just augment what Hari and Krishna mentioned and give you some stats and numbers. So for the benefit of the viewers, if you really see, there's a sense of urgency around digital skills. And what is driving that? See, India is projected to be $1 trillion digital economy by 2025. Now, $1 trillion digital economy essentially needs digital skills in the workforce. Now, we went ahead and did a study this year with the Alpha Beta Research Group, and you'll be surprised that only 12% of India's workforce today is digitally skilled, as it relates to the skills that are required to drive that economy. Number of skilled workers required by 2025 likely to grow by by 9 times actually. So what that means is there's a certain level of urgency in bridging the supply and demand gap analysis. Then we looked at what are the top 5 skills. And if you see the top 5 skills, that kind of, is pointing to why Simplilearn and let's say Great Learning is seeing an upsurge in the courses. So the first one is cloud architecting and design, because cloud is a key driver of digital acceleration. That's growing at a CAGR of about 34%. That's the fastest growing skill. The other 4, you've got big data, large scale modeling. So you talk about data science. You're talking about cyber security. There's mobile web application development, system operation. So these are the top 5 skills that are required. And within this, cloud is the biggest driver. And suddenly you will see a lot of surge in how the current workforce roles are morphing into the new roles. So for instance, demand for cloud architect as opposed to point subject matter expertise on network security and storage, for instance. Demand for cloud developers, there's certain demand for DevOps and DevOps engineers. And then there is this whole thing about cybersecurity, because as you increase your digital services, there's intensity of cyber attacks which you need to be cognizant of. So those are the 5 skills that are important. Now, in that context, if you really see where is the gap going to be bridged from, there is the early careers. So there are about 2 million odd STEM students in the country today, right? But the challenge is the time it takes for these 2 million STEM students to graduate from college to get ready for a job in the industry, at the minimum, at an average about 8 months. So then the question is, how do we get this workforce really be ready day one with skills that the industry requires? So there are early careers. Then there is the reskilling of existing IT workforce. So we've got about 4.6 million workers in the IT BPM sector. Within that, 1.7 million who have some level of digital skills, which can be kind of, so the game is therefore to try and bridge the gap from these 2 cohorts. And that's where I think there's this sudden urgency in the industry to democratize digital learning, because without that, the industry is not going to move forward, as the pandemic has just showed us in the last 2 months. There was no way you could service your customers or your employees in a meaningful way if you had not embarked on a digitization journey, right? So now how are we thinking about this? So at a first fundamental level, AWS committed to training about 29 million individuals globally as it relates to cloud skills and digital skills. So that's the commitment. Just from a here and now India perspective, because it's such a large talent pool sitting in India, it's a global talent supply. The focus is really twofold. So how do we look at, and if you see, the learners are at different levels. So there are foundational, beginners, novices. There are intermediaries who have some level of exposure, and then there are advanced. So the way we are going about this is, for those who want to have just an immersion into the digital skills, there's about 500 free digital titles that we have on AWS Skill Builder, about 60 odd classes which people can go through with a very specific learning experience. Choose a role, choose a type of level, choose a specialty, AI, ML, database, and pick up these. These are self-paced online courses. For the academia or for the STEM students, they have two routes to take. So there are free courses again, which you, through a program called AWS Educate, where again, people can log onto the portal. There are about 12 different streams that they can go through depending on the area of interest. These are again self-paced online, and they get badges on completion and certification. Then there is AWS Academy, which actually works closely with the institutions and is the concept of deploying an instructor in that college to potentially train people in the 6th to 8th semester to be ready for jobs. Because guess what? I think the news for the viewers is, if you are an engineer versus if you're an engineer with cloud skills, there's a potential of a premium of 20 to 25% in the salaries that you can potentially draw. So it's that critical. So AWS Academy kind of plays in that space. And then, we've got a very interesting program which we launched. It's called AWS Restart, which is really about trying to incorporate the workforce which has either been rendered unemployed by virtue of the pandemic, or there are, let's say, women in workforce who have taken a sabbatical, they want to come back, or people in the non-tech background who want to kind of move to tech because it's such an exciting opportunity. So they're the opportunity to expand the size of the talent pool, and it takes them to a free 12-week intense program where at the end of the program, we actually connect them to potential job opportunities. So alumni of Restart, 90% of them we connect to potential job opportunities. So those are the 3 or 4 areas that we are kind of driving. Now, here is the thing about free and paid, and that's a very interesting debate. And take an analogy. Can you play cricket just by watching Dhoni online? Right? You can't. So for you to be able to meaningfully do stuff, you need to have those hands-on lab experiences. You need to have the industry context. So I think the right model, which I think people are coming to and they realize that you will have some level of self-paced free learning, but then there's paid learning and certifications that you need to do, because that is what drives employability and the last mile connect to jobs. And I think that's the healthy balance that we need to strive for.
Okay. Yeah. Cloud, of course. Everybody is talking cloud now. But come back to that. But, I wanted to ask this question, and Krishna had kind of mentioned it, how to choose a course. And I actually have a question that is along the similar lines. It's from Toini Mahapatra asking, I'm from a humanities background, interested to become a data analyst, which I think Krishna had also said, everybody wants to become a data analyst. There are so many courses on offer, how to choose the right one? I mean, I had actually a similar question. Exactly. How is there a way? Do you give a little test or anything like that to help people choose?
So actually, what I told in the beginning is what he or she should do. Whoever asked this question, that see, there are so many free courses. Go to Skill Up. There is a data analyst course. There's a business analyst course. Maybe if you're from humanities background, I think data science and data engineering will be difficult because they require much more technological skill. But to become a data analyst and a business analyst, you can pretty much become by taking those courses. So try that out and see which one is of interest to you, right? I think between data analyst and business analyst also there's a huge like there is some similarity, but there's also a lot of dissimilarity between these two roles. Not somebody who can be a great data analyst, not necessarily be a great business analyst, and vice versa also. So I think see there is so much of free content. I think anyone who's like confused what they should select, they should first try some free courses.
Sure, you're saying just try it, is it?
And then go and if you have specific doubts, you can always call companies like ours, and our admission counselors will understand your background, and maybe they can also further suggest on what is the right course for you. And then only take a paid program. So we have seen cases where people jump on taking a paid program because one of their colleague, friend, or classmate has taken, and then later they realize that, okay, this is not suiting their purpose. And then obviously it creates a lot of, I'll say, the bad feeling that, okay, see, if you're 6 months into a program and you go and ask companies that, okay, now refund my money after 6 months I have done it, it becomes a little bit tricky for the companies also, because they have already spent all the money and effort in making sure that you learn those technologies in the first 6 months or so. So we strongly advise that take free course, make up your mind, and then go for a paid program.
Okay.
I think in today's time and age, Sujit, there's so much of information that's available, right? It is not like a decade back, right? There's no black box here, right? As Krishna just mentioned, and these are all career choices you're making, right? These are not lifestyle choices, right? So if you want to be a data analyst, do your research, learn more about it, explore courses, and see whether you like it, right? Your background of humanities is no deterrent to you becoming a business analyst or data analyst. It's about your inclination to learn and whether you're liking what you're learning, right? And that's where companies like Simplilearn, like Great Learning, we've all opened up content, so come explore, because at the heart of it, I think what we all need to appreciate is that you will have to learn, right? And learning is a journey. It is a journey that needs time, commitment, and effort. So let's not look for shortcuts. So spend your time researching, spend your time exploring, see if you like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, right? If that aligns with your interest, and then make a choice.
Okay.
I'll add to Hari.
Course that you have
I'll add a good add to what Hari made a point, and I think that's a very, very important point, that many times the buyers of our program or consumers of our program, many times they just neglect that point. See, we are not a e-commerce platform where you made an order for a food or some goodies that you buy and you feel good, right? You have to pay and actually learn. So that part only you can do. Just paying will not make you a data analyst. Taking that program successfully, completing, following our instruction will definitely make you data analyst. But just buying and expecting that magic will happen, that doesn't happen. You still have to put effort to learn those.
Okay. But just to answer Shohini's question, is there one course that you can recommend for her? If she wants to become a data analyst, she says.
I think just go do a Simplilearn Skill Up free data analyst program. It's a very good program. You'll like it. And you can also just do a LinkedIn search of data analyst plus skill up on LinkedIn. Hundreds of people have done this program for free. You can just maybe send requests to them, talk to them about their experience. And once you think that that's the right area for you to be in, there are a lot of, like, we have a program at the Purdue University, which is very, very reputed university. And there are many other programs by many other reputed universities on other platforms that you can consider taking up.
Okay.
And Sujit, just to add to that, so clearly, each of our platforms, they're designed in a way for the content is discoverable and it's kind of aligned to where the levels are. So for instance, in case of Amazon, on the skill builder, you will have ML basics, which does not require any, previous knowledge of data science or data fundamentals. So I think the platform content aligns to the needs of the learners. It's really about spending time and commitment.
Okay. Shilpa?
Can each of you talk about how you've expanded your presence and reach beyond the metros? Do you see a lot of interest coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities? If you can share some details around that.
So Shilpa, I'll tell you one thing that that was happening before the pandemic. See, before the pandemic, at least Simplilearn was more focused on professionals, like people who had the first job and they're looking for the second, third, or fourth job. Of course, during the pandemic, we have opened up for fresh graduates, and obviously the boundary between an early career professional and a fresh graduate or a final year engineering and MBA student has become very blurred, right? So that we realize suddenly there's so much of demand that the existing professional alone cannot fulfill those demands. Hence, we opened up for fresh graduates and so that they also get upskilled and start fulfilling the demand that suddenly has increased and become very high. That was one trend. Other very interesting trend that you notice, that people moved from metro to their hometowns. Now you suddenly look at that possibility, then pretty much every pin code in India is now where working professionals are sitting and working. Like in Simplilearn, we did a survey. I think we have people today in all the districts of the country working from home. Pretty much all. We mapped every district in every state. We have some employees working from that district remotely for us, right? And who earlier used to be mostly in Bangalore. So that being the reality now, the line has completely got blurred. People are taking programs from anywhere, from like remote areas of Kashmir to the Kanyakumari to the Northeast. So obviously we are serving all those needs, and the good news is that internet connectivity in the country has improved a lot thanks to Geo also. So we hear very less complaints that, okay, we are not able to connect because the bandwidth is not there, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think similar observations from my side as well. I think the access has definitely increased across the country. So a lot of one is, of course, working professionals themselves have been dispersed all across the country, right? So today the representation that we see from tier 2 and tier 3 probably 18 months back were all in tier 1 cities, right? So that has happened for sure. But beyond that also, especially on our free platforms like Great Learning Academy and all, we are seeing a lot of final year students and freshers from, as I mentioned earlier, from colleges in tier 2 tier 3 cities. And I think that is what online and digital education is able to and I think that is the real impact that everybody on this forum is creating. That's a true impact, right? That you're democratizing education, and today anyone, irrespective of which city you are in, if you have a will to learn and an internet connection, you can learn.
And I echo that, just from our standpoint, for instance, one of the things we've really done is really scaled our webinars. We do these mass scale events and webinars, which essentially reach out again with content which are instructor led. So we give kind of 90 minutes to about 4 to 5 hours content on free webinars. And then we're also doing free exam readiness workshops. So, good part of it, 500 million smartphones and the, ease of digital infrastructure access. I think that's, so we've also kind of changed the mix from pure play instructor led to a heavy reliance on digital. Tier 2, tier 3, for instance, colleges, we've seen a surge of colleges who've registered in our academy program. And therefore, a lot of these tier 2, tier 3 engineering graduates have now access to the program, which they didn't have earlier. Similarly, the Restart program actually is open across to all, all the cities. 15 to 20, we have students logging from pretty much every place and enrolling in that. So I think that's we've also kind of changed our tactics, and the digital has helped.
Okay, Amit, to learn cloud, what would be the minimum qualification? Is a science background necessary? Can somebody come from the social sciences side? Is engineering necessary?
Okay, so as I said, one of the endeavors that we had was how do we broad base the talent pool, and is there a chance for us to kind of jumpstart careers in the cloud? So the Restart program that we launched, typically what it needed was it needed just 12th class graduate, 12th class certification or higher schools, certificate. And just basic knowledge, basic IT knowledge, even that may be, at the bare minimum level. And
12th,
then
12th science is important?
Not required. Not required. That's where we kind of put the curriculum in such a way that during the 12 weeks, we'll expose them to IT fundamentals of networking, Linux, Python. That's why it is so intense. It's 9 to 5. And then they have AWS fundamentals. We start right from the scratch. And then we also have what we call soft skills, which actually make them ready in 12 weeks to a job. Only those people can apply who are ready to take a job after 12 weeks. So that's the only way you can actually increase the talent pool, and Restart kind of enable some of this. For some of our more, for people who have access to infrastructure and can get on the online, the AWS Skill Builder free digital content has fundamental this thing that does require some level of understanding. But for those who have some tech orientation, they can go to the digital library and they can get started.
Okay. Krishna, Hari, I just want to ask you, I mean, in the last 1.5 years, the pandemic, have you seen a change in your top 5 courses pre-pandemic and now?
So actually, Sujit, from my perspective, not much. See, what we have seen in the pandemic is that it has only accelerated the demand to a totally different level. But this word digital transformation, we are transforming our business to become a more digital company. That this trend was even before the pandemic. Pandemic simply forced us because there was no option. So the need for those technologies have not changed. But there is some, like I'll say, for example, digital marketing was not such a big deal, but now even smaller businesses also want to have some digital presence so that they can have some kind of presence to show them that they are available. So that technology has become a very, I'll say, mainstream technology, because now every person has to have some knowledge of how to present and how to market yourself digitally. So there we have seen a more broad-based demand. And other area where I've seen the demand has gone much higher, say data science and cloud were always in demand, is cybersecurity, because large companies are focusing a lot on cybersecurity. It's data theft and all kinds of asset theft, and making sure that they are not compromised has become a big need.
Yeah.
So, Sujit, from our perspective, see the three skills that were there before pre-pandemic and continue to, be amongst the top skills: data science, cloud, and full stack. Right. I think those were there now. Those were there then. Those are here now. As Krishna mentioned, what has changed is the scale of demand. Right. That's just gone through the roof. The newer areas that we are seeing are largely on the management side, management business, like digital marketing that Krishna mentioned. So I think that is a new demand, right? That we are seeing. What that also means is that earlier, most of the audience that was coming in was predominantly a tech-based audience, right? But now that has gone beyond tech. There are also people in non-tech careers. And that also, by the way, is a large segment, right? So there are people in non-tech careers who are also now, becoming more aware about their need to upskill and are looking for courses that that they can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to, Sujit, add to what Hari said. See, when we think about digital skilling, it's not skills which require only programming as a base. Like for example, cloud might require programming skill. Data obviously requires a lot of programming skill. But there are a lot of roles that have also come up that is not a coding or a programming kind of skill. Like for example, digital marketing does not require programming. There are some roles might require, but there are a lot of roles where if you are let's say a newspaper anchor or you are a newspaper writer, digital marketing is a great skill for you to utilize your writing skills and make a transition there, become a social media expert and so on, right? So like that, or if you are a management professional, a lot of management related roles have opened up. You can become an agile project manager. You can, again, business analyst also requires some kind of mathematical skill, but there is also business analysis side wherein if you have like critical thinking, reasoning ability, you can make a transition into those roles. So you need not be a programmer to call yourself as a digital skill worker or a digital skill professional.
Okay. Even the agile role and all that you're saying doesn't require programming skills.
No, agile doesn't require. It's just how to get the work done. See, so many projects are happening, right? So
it's a methodology. It's a methodology.
So earlier what used to happen that you start a new project, people used to give a timeline of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Now in the current world, nobody has patience to start a project and wait for 6 months to see the first outcome, right? So now project timeline is 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So how to do everything within that time frame so that you see some outcome, then you iterate, do something new. So somebody needs to manage this entire exercise. So the project management itself has become more like an agile management. So those skills don't require programming skills as such.
Okay. And what's also sorry, Krishna, please come.
Yeah, and then that also is a huge demand. Go ahead, Hari.
Yeah. No, to your earlier question also, Sujit, I think what is also helping this is that the way the products and platforms are developing is that there are versions and variants which are using low code, no code work, right? Yeah. And a great example is data analyst, right? You can be a data analyst who's completely working on something like Tableau, right? Where your programming skills or the amount of programming that you know could be very limited because that's all that you need to know. What you need to have an understanding of is interpreting the data, right? And knowing, what is the data you're looking for, and then of course interpreting it, right? So you don't have to be a Tableau developer per se to be a business analyst working on Tableau, right? So I think the products and platforms also evolve, right? Which further increases their adoption, which further increases the use cases for people to acquire digital skills without really being programmers.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Shilpa?
Yeah, we have this question from Jagdish Yanduri. What is more important, experience on the job or certification?
See, this is a very we can't answer this question in one line, but if you have to strictly answer in one line, obviously there's nothing can match the on-job experience. But the question is, how do you get on-job experience, right? So that's where certification can help, and obviously it also depends upon you're getting certified from where and getting certified on what, right? You can go and create a certificate on your own also. Nobody stops you, put some logo, put some word and say you sign on your own, right? So I think from where you do, how credible is that provider, how serious they are about certifying, all that becomes an important factor, but nothing can match on-job experience for sure.
Okay, I can add some color here, given how we look at. See, what certification essentially does is it validates your experience. It's like an industry credential which says that you know this very well and they're recognized. And we did a very interesting study with ESG, which said, okay, what is the value, understanding the value of AWS certifications? And some very interesting data came. And the data was that, companies and organizations who invested and got their frontline IT staff certified, 97% of them said they're in a better competitive position in 3 to 5 years having certified staff. 90% of them said that the employee productivity improved. 89% came back and said that the security of the workloads improved by having certified staff. And then it had positive impact on retention. 96% said better retention, and 93% said better hiring. So fundamentally, what certification does is gives you that validation that you have that experience, and also gives you those credentials that you have that. And by virtue of getting exposed to the best practices, you can get better at your job. So that's the truth about certifications, as we have discovered through the ESG research.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to chime in there, Sujit, I completely concur with what Krishna said. Ultimately, of course, if you have experience in digital skills, nothing, that is the best thing. But the fact is that not enough people have experience in digital skills, right? Which is why there is such a huge, demand and supply gap, right? In terms of that talent, right? So certificate or certification is essentially a validation. And it, of course, matters where you learn, how well you've learned all of that. But I think one thing that I'd like to call out is that just because you have a certificate, right, doesn't mean that organizations are going to kind of welcome you with arms wide open, right? That is just a validation, right? Their processes are still rigorous, right? So if you're going to apply as a full stack developer, right, be prepared to go through grueling rounds of selection, right, where you need to have skills. So ultimately, it is skills that matter, right? And certificate is one way of demonstrating that I have acquired those skills. And of course, then you will be put to test by companies. And if you have those skills, you will get jobs, because jobs are aplenty. And I think that is the great news for our viewers today.
Okay. I hear this about from the industry generally, that communication is a big problem across techies generally. Do they take courses in communication? What is a trend that you see? Do you have courses in communication?
Yeah, so on our Great Learning Academy, we do have courses on communication, but we see them mostly being taken by college students and freshers, not necessarily by techies, because, or at least this is my understanding, I could be wrong here, but I think if you are a techie, I don't think communication is the key determinant, right? Or how well you speak is the key determinant, of career success there, right? But there are several roles where that becomes a determinant, and we see a lot of college audiences actually taking up communication courses, communication, even writing courses for that matter.
So I'll should I add one more dimension? See, in India, when we say communication, we also get confused with your ability to speak English. Now, in the old times, when there was this whole IT services industry, there used to be client interviews. Somebody from US will call you and interview you. And if you're not able to speak, how do you get selected and how do you get billed? Now the India, like local, this whole startup ecosystem has become so strong that frankly, we speak any language. We speak Telugu, Tamil, we don't care. As long as you are a good techie, I think there are companies waiting to welcome you, because there's so huge demand supply gap. So and I'm sure people are like, most people are very good in communicating in their native language. So right now I'll say that that's not really a key.
Not a big concern.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll add another color on this. So clearly, as Krishna mentioned, it's not necessarily about the language. So when we are looking at preparing students in the early career space, a lot of our ATP partners, for instance, they have a module on finishing school. And what it essentially does is, one is the language, which obviously you can do so much with, but the second part is really about when you are in a job, there are so many other aspects that you need to, for instance, as a techie, to get a business case through, you need to talk a language that the business understands. So getting them familiar with this becomes critical. Having a right digital presence and communicating what the company stands for or the project stands for becomes critical. How to represent stuff in meetings, those are some of the nuances that need to be imparted, and these are part part of finishing skill schools. We don't have digital modules on these, but we do run these as special instructor-led modules as part of a finishing school exercise with our ATPs.
Okay, okay. Shilpa?
This question is from Murli Rao. Someone who is 20 plus years in IT services or products working on legacy systems, how can we move to AWS or application modernizations? Amit, do you want to take it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a great question. So by virtue of working on the legacy system and apps, at least you know the lay of the land as it relates to the business relevance and what those applications mean to the business. Now, what this then does is, how do you take this old world paradigm and move it into new world of API driven infrastructure or operating in the cloud, and cloud as an operating model? So I think the starting point for professionals who do want to get started, we recommend what we call the cloud practitioner essentials, which kind of expose you to the nuances of the working in the cloud and the services that are there that on AWS. We have about 200 plus services. So getting you started and being familiar with the services. The second part then is a solution architect associate, which kind of helps you architect the application environment and look at the implications of different services. So the solution architect associate is the second step. Now, those two are the starting block for someone who wants to migrate to, for instance, or move towards an AWS environment. And then as you go deeper, you can choose. You can either choose solution architect professional as an extension, or you can cut into different streams. So for instance, you can take a specialty like cybersecurity or data analytics or ML or networking. So you can chart your process, progress basis that. But the starting point is the cloud practitioner essentials and solution architect associate.
Okay, I have this question. I just want to elaborate on that little. Ulhas Kirvardakar asking, how can I leverage courses and certifications to apply for jobs which otherwise ask for prior experience in the field? Is that common? I mean, prior experience, if the person is talented enough, how do recruitments happen? Do they actually go through active tests, or is prior experience really important?
Okay, so let me take a stab at that, since we kind of work. We have a team called the Employment Engagement Team, and their focus is to see graduates who are coming from the academy program or people who are coming from the educate program, how to connect them to jobs. Now, if you see the largest customers of, let's say, digital skills or cloud services, they would have a set of job requirements, which will be entry-level jobs and mid-career jobs. So for the entry-level jobs, they have their own tests. So we connect the resumes from the pass outs of educate and academy programs. We connect them to these customers. They do virtual job fairs. They have their own way of administering tests, and then they take on these candidates. So that's one way to do this. And then increasingly what is happening is, for the mid-career level, where really there's inflation right now, and there's kind of overheated in that sense, because the number of people in that space are low. There is obviously the job boards that we have. There are virtual job fairs that we do with different partners, and that's how we connect the prospective employers to job seekers.
Okay.
Sujit, I can also chime in here. So as a part of Great Learning Academy, as I mentioned earlier, we work with 1,200 companies that conduct processes through us, right? And so I think this question really depends upon your background as a candidate. If you are an early professional, I don't think companies are putting any filters of prior experience, because obviously you're early into your career. Yes, companies do follow a rigorous process. So there will be depending upon the role and the organization, there will be multiple rounds of assessment that happen, technical as well as HR rounds. And where there is that right now, of course, all of that is online. But it is hardcore skills assessment that happens, right? As you progress up in your career, if you're a mid to senior professional, I think it is more about looking at your experience and what is the skill that you have gained, and whether the role that you're applying to is, if there is some adjacency to your prior experience, right? I think that is the combination that works. If it is completely disparate, right? So for example, let's say you've been, I'm just calling out an example here. Let's say you've been in FMCG sales for 15 years and suddenly you want to become a full stack developer, and you do a course and expect that, companies are going to, hire you as a full stack developer. That is a long shot, right? So companies do at mid levels and above, companies do look for adjacency in terms of how much of your previous experience is relevant and what you have now learned, how is that complementing your previous experience and how does that fit in with the role that you're applying to.
So I want to talk about trends, Sujit, that I noticed, which is related to this. So Simplilearn has 3-4 programs where we guarantee job. Not on all our programs, but there are some programs where you sign up with a promise that by the time you complete this program, we are guaranteeing a job of a certain annual CTC. And our thought of launching those programs was to help fresh graduate, people who have completed their courses and then they want some help in getting their job. So it's kind of integrated learning plus job program. And when we started looking at the data, we were very surprised that there are people with 5-6 years of experience also applying and actually getting a job. And when we looked at the trend, it was the kind of trend that we saw, just Hari spoke about it. Somebody was into FMCG industry, but they wanted to become a developer. So when we started looking at the kind of salaries these people are getting, so companies, we noticed that companies are paying them some premium, that okay, this guy is a entry-level programmer, but the fact that he has worked in the industry, they're giving him some premium that he knows how to work in industry, maybe knows how to do like cross-team collaboration and so on. Not a lot of premium, but we saw a little bit of premium. So if you are like early career professional, say up to 5-6 years of experience and you want to get into a totally new area, I think you need to be mentally prepared that it's going to be a restart for you. But take one such program. There are multiple such programs available in the market.
Okay. Shilpa?
Yeah, Sujit. We have this question from Nitin Agarwal. This is for Amit. How can we enroll into AWS Restart? Does AWS provide any free hands-on labs platform where we can enhance our practical learning? I think Nitin recently cleared AWS CCP.
Okay, so the AWS Restart program is run by 5 partners. So these partners, typically they take a cohort size of 25 per class. The process is very simple. We can share the name of these partners. You apply to their websites and they will kind of reach out to you and assess the fitment. So they run these cohorts. And we can share the details with you on this one. In terms of what was the second part, Shilpa?
The second part was, does AWS provide any free hands-on labs platform where we can enhance our practical learning?
Okay, at this point, all the hands-on lab, what we realize is that any hands-on lab experience need to have context. Just because you've kind of taken, so one is in the digital courses, you will get a lot of view of what happens on the platform. But if you really want to tinker with the live environment, you need to have context. So we provide the hands-on lab experience within a paid class. That's 3-day class, and you can have access to the environment during the course of the class, and there is some time after which you can have this thing. And then we continue to do what we call AWS Jams. Now, what AWS Jams essentially does is we do these through hackathons. So in case you don't want to enroll for a paid program, you can join in any one of the hackathons that we do. In the hackathons, what we do is we open up the platform, we set up very interesting challenges, and it's kind of a gamification of a challenge, and you can work in as teams or you can work in individually to address those challenges. So those are the 2 ways today that you can work on AWS environments. We recognize that just by going through an online course, the relevance of an online, hands-on environment doesn't come through. You need to have context. You need to have some more insights and knowledge on this.
Okay, I'm sure this is a question that will be there in a lot of people's minds, and you answered some of this earlier, but still I'm asking you. This is from Hemant Bhavnani asking, I'm a commerce grad with MBA working in banking sales, looking to pivot my career. So, Krishna, what would you suggest? You said digital marketing is one thing that you suggest.
Digital marketing is a great program for you if you want to get into very high growth, very high growing area. Business analysis is another possibility that you can look at it, because a lot of the analysis that FMCG companies does is like mind-boggling. A lot of people, or most e-commerce companies, if you look at the leadership, it comes from FMCG kind of background. So that's another like high growth.
What is digital marketing for those who don't understand it, what exactly does it involve?
So let's just let's look at Simplilearn as a platform, right? We are not doing any TV advertising. How are people getting to know us? It's all through internet. So we are advertising on through free marketing, through paid marketing, and we get roughly about 6-7 million learners coming to our platform every month, right? So that's a huge number. Imagine having a store where 60-70 lakh people are visiting every month. So internet is kind of a store, right? Like if you go to a mall, they talk about footfall. That what is their weekday footfall, what is their weekend footfall, and based on that they decide what is the sale that is going to happen on that particular day or that particular month, right? So now all these companies like us who are completely selling the program online, how do I get people to come and look at my program, review my program, and buy those programs? All is driven by digital marketing.
Okay, so what do you teach?
We teach how to write content that attracts learner. And let's talk about this particular person case itself. He's an FMCG salesperson and he wants to explore what kind of career opportunity that he has. If he was not part of this webinar, what option he had? Either he contacts somebody in his network who has made this kind of career transition, find somebody in the family who he can guide, or the ultimate option that all of us take, go to Google and search. So if he says that, okay, career option for an FMCG guy trying to look at transition into digital skill, let's say he puts such a big keyword, most likely he might come across an article by somebody in Simplilearn that says that, okay, you're an FMCG guy, you want to move, here are 3 or 4 options that you can take, pros and cons of all the options. So that's one example of content marketing that's part of digital marketing. Then you can also run paid program, and so it's a subject that we teach for even 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. University teaches this subject for 2 years. So it's a very, very detailed subject, but very, very fascinating and fast going.
Okay.
You know, Sujit, I will go ahead and welcome him to the Cloud Careers. See, BFSI is a great place. You know, as you know, the way you look at customer experiences, customer 360, for instance, when a customer comes to you and interacts across different channels, he actually leaves digital presence across those channels, and banking and finance leverages that in meaningful way to cross-sell, upsell. You have fraud management as a case in point, you have business resiliency, you have compliance and regulation. So I think one of the things that you can consider if you want to move to a tech career in cloud is that you have the necessary domain expertise, which will say that this is how cloud may be relevant to the BFSI industry. So I would encourage you to get started with, let's say, a CFM course that we do, Cloud Financials Management course, for you to understand, listen, in the banking finance industry, if I were to implement cloud, what are the implications on infrastructure costs, security, etc. And then I would encourage you to do a cloud practitioner essentials. We have a lot of people employed within AWS who come from BFSI domain. They bring in the necessary domain, and they then say, what is the art of the possible in marrying cloud-based scenarios in technology to the domain? And that's an explosive conversation. So do the cloud financials management, do the cloud practitioner essentials, and welcome you. We need more of you.
Hari, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think in addition to cloud and digital marketing, both are good fits. The other options could be product management. A lot of product development is happening. We all know about fintech companies and neobanks and so on. So if people are coming with, because somewhere I also heard that the person has experience in banking or has done a banking course. I caught on that if I heard that right. Yeah. So product management could be a very good area for them.
What do you teach there?
So product management is basically about, how do you build large scale products, right? I mean, tech products, right? So how should the product be designed? How do you understand, user needs? How do you build features? How do you experiment those features? Right? There's a whole science to it, right? So every product that gets built, in phases. And there is a lot of science and a lot of logic that goes behind it, and a lot of experimentation, right? A lot of scientific thinking that goes behind, launching a product or even a feature within a product, right?
Okay.
And given the kind of digital transformation that banking industry and fintech is going through, all of them are looking for product managers.
How much technical knowledge do you need for this?
You don't need technical knowledge. I think what you need is critical thinking, some eye for design, and definitely very, very good logical ability to basically understand and to gather insights from your customers, what data is telling you, and so on. You will be working with the tech team. You're not going to code a given product, right? Coding happens with the tech team. So you'll be working in collaboration with the tech teams. So you don't need to be an engineer or a software developer to be a product manager. Okay. So that is one aspect, and the other is of course data analysts. I think Krishna also briefly mentioned that. Careers or starting your career in data science as a data analyst. Again, if you trace the kind of the origins of most of data science, it comes from banking and financial services, right? That is where data used to reside primarily. I'm talking about 20 years back, right? So a lot of origins are from there, and even today, BFSI companies continue to be the largest consumers of data science products and data science services. So if you have background in that,
you should know some stats, how to stats and a little bit of math and all that. Do you?
Which is what you will learn, right? So if you join any data analyst course, you don't need to have a background in stats, right? As long as you have an analytical bent of mind, any course is going to teach you basics of stats and basics of math, and then of course the various techniques when it comes to business analysis and the tools that are needed.
Business analyst is similar, or
it's similar. It's used interchangeably, data analyst and business analyst. I mean, there could be a few changes from company to company, but most of the crux will continue to be the same. That's also a great career. I think one kind of myth that I should kind of bust here is that when you think of careers as business analyst, data scientist, data analyst, and so on, you don't have to be a statistician, right? A statistician performs a very different job, right? And needs a much more solid grounding and foundations in mathematics and statistics, right? So a lot of, especially the younger audience, all of us experience that a lot of them actually shy away from it, thinking that, listen, statistics was like a lot of jargon and like French and Spanish to me, right? How am I ever going to build a career in it? But I think that, first of all, statistics is a great subject. It's a very interesting subject if taught the right way. Unfortunately, most of us have been taught the subject in a very wrong way that we have nightmares about it. But as a data analyst, or when you come through a data analyst course or a business analyst course, you're going to understand the application strategies, not the theorems and the proofs and the and the mathematical side of it, right? So you don't have to be a statistician to build a career in data science.
Okay. I know we are out of time, 3 minutes beyond time, but Shilpa, any last question?
Yeah. We'll take this as the last question. This is from Sandeep Jain. What is the difference between courses which conduct an assessment versus the ones which just offer course completion certifications after completing the classes? Does the job market view these differently?
Of course, like if there is an assessment at the end of this program, that's more credible, right? And most places I have seen that people who issue certificate just by attending the course, it's always called course completion certificate or course attendance certificate, right? Whereas if you take certificate from, let's say, AWS or from a university, there's always some kind of assessment criteria. Only when you clear those assessment criteria, you get awarded that certificate, right? So obviously, and there are all kinds of providers. There are some providers who can maybe issue a certificate even if you have not gone through a rigorous assessment criteria, but obviously over time the value of those kind of certificate goes down.
Yeah, so I think assessment is basically a validation criteria, right? And of course that will always carry more weight. So it's like saying that I went to an engineering college and I cleared engineering, right? Two very different things, right? Because one had an exit criteria where you had to actually clear assessments, clear exams, and finally get a degree. So I think it's similar here. So anything that comes with a valid credential of you having of an independent party, whether it's an edtech platform or a university having assessed your skills and then giving you the credential, which is what assessments are, will always carry more weight and more credibility.
So what does Silva add to what we spoke about during this webinar earlier also? There is no shortcut to learning. So if you buy a program, you still have to learn. What we do is that we shorten your cycle by creating courses which are very focused, by helping with mentoring, by giving all kinds of support so that you complete your learning in the most efficient manner, but you still have to learn.
Okay, I know we are 5 minutes past our time. Amit, any final words for younger audiences?
No, I would say this is the best time to be, the opportunity is huge. India needs a lot of people who need to be skilled by 2025. For us to be that reckoning force at the global level that we are capable of, we need more and more of you to embrace digital skills. Cloud has a phenomenal opportunity, 34% CAGR till 2025. And there's a big demand supply gap which we can fill. So if you're looking at employability, if you're looking at long-term careers, it's now time to really rethink, reskill, and jump on the digital skill bandwagon.
Okay, Krishna.
Yeah, and I want to add to Amit is that this is not only an India opportunity. I think the entire world needs global digital skills. So if as a country we start focusing on learning digital skills, we have this demographic dividend as our advantage. So not only we can meet the demands of our country, but we can meet the demands of the entire world. So in the process,
the world becomes your job market.
Yeah, the jobs will follow skills, right? So imagine the kind of impact that will create for the country as well if you have suddenly we build another export market, right? So I'm personally very, very bullish. I think in next 10 years, I see that the next phase of growth in our economy will happen because the entire world will look at India for the digital talent.
Okay. Hari, want to final
word? So I think two kind of closing thoughts. One is like what Amit mentioned. It's a great time to be an early career professional because of the opportunities that are abound, across various job roles, right? So it's not even some specific industry or some specific sector, right? These are roles that are spanning across companies of scale and industries and sectors and global opportunities, as Krishna was saying. The other bit, I think, which is something that I'm very passionate about, is the fact that this is more a level playing field than ever before. Because today, with the advent of online education, everybody can learn, right? All you need to have is the right intent to learn and the commitment to put in the time and effort. There are plenty of resources for you to learn. And the good part is that once you acquire those skills and you come into the marketplace, companies are going to evaluate the skill and not, which college you're from, which city you're from. I think those are all great news, right? So everybody has an opportunity to create a fantastic career, and it's a level playing field, which is what I hope our audience will make the most of.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I mean, this is exactly the kind of things that our young audiences love to hear. Great time to be in India, to learn, democratized, and the world is your job market today. So thanks so much to you, Amit, Krishna, Hari. Great discussion.
Thank you.
See you again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.